welcome back to another episode of Psychonaut Sessions, your home for all things psycho. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to continue our coverage of Gene Day's Black Zeppelin. Black Zeppelin number 4. You know, the reason why I love Black Zeppelin, not only is it just a great anthology, but it comes directly from that era of comics that I think I love the most, which is the mid-'80s black and white boom that took over the industry for a while, put out a lot of amazing new and interesting content. But also, Black Zeppelin is a comic that is based solely on the tribute of a great artist, founded by Gene Day's wife, Gail Day, Joe Ursulvas, and Denis Lebert, who is the ex-wife of Dave Sim. These group of people wanted to create an anthology magazine that was all based upon the tribute of Gene Day's work, previously including some of his stuff that was never published, as well as works from other individuals who were in the Gene Day circle. So very interesting. I've not really ever seen anything like this before. So I've loved every issue so far, and now today we're going to take a quick look at number 4. And as always, first off, you got to kind of take a look at this cover. My camera, I was not able to get it to. I've complained about my camera a lot in these videos. I've not been able to get the kind of full color spectrum that I would like to have shown. The way the way everything really pops on this. This is a Gene Day painted cover. And a thing of note that was talked about in my interview with David Day, Gene Day's brother, that you can find on this channel, is that Gene Day was colorblind. So amazing palette for somebody who was even colorblind. We even got just the contrast of the blue versus the orange background. Just lovely, lovely work. 100%. Definitely curtails to that sci-fi sort of dark sci-fi and fantasy sort of vibe that we're looking for here. Nothing of note at all in Denny's note from the publisher. In fact, she's just talking about a personal matter of her moving to LA, and then she's like, what, you all are gonna get on to me because I'm just writing a personal note and not talking about the comic itself? Just go read the comic. It's like, okay, Denny. She does talk about a tour that was taking place, it looks like in 1986, called Cartoonists Across America, where a group of cartoonists were traveling across 25 different cities to promote creativity, literacy, and the positive benefits of humor. I'd like to know a little bit more about that. And supposedly it was getting some like TV coverage at some point as well. So she was going to be taking part in that, and that looks like something I would like to kind of research a little bit more about. I did an initial search and did not find a ton, but I'm going to dig a little bit deeper. So first story is called The Infinite Man, and it is chapter 1, Who Shall Cry for Damocles? So their goal was, over the next few issues, was for this to be a kind of a serialized piece. And I can't find, I know that they were planning issues 4, 5, and 6, and this is chapter 1. I cannot find Black Zeppelin number 6. Not even sure if they were able to finish it. I know that Black Zeppelin 5 is out there. It's a book that I'm going to be getting soon to follow up with this, but if anybody knows anything about Black Zeppelin 6, if there are any copies in existence, please let me know. We got some script and co-creator by Mark Shaneblum, and then Gabriel Morissette as the penciler. These two did a lot of work for Northgard, which was kind of like the Canadian sort of Captain America comic. And of course, David Day does the inks, the man I did the interview with, wonderful human being. And it looks like Gabriel actually did some work with like Alex Toth, Al Williamson, Moebius. So he learned some of his craft from those amazing individuals in the comic industry. So, little historical note of that. The Infinite Man's very interesting. So, the entire concept really is about an individual. We don't really get any kind of origin, but the whole concept is that he's kind of in this time and space void that he sits in, and then jumps into different people's bodies and experiences. Kind of like Quantum Leap. It actually very much like Quantum Leap, except for he just between leaps, he's just sitting in this like weird void, and calls himself the Infinite Man. And of note, again, this is 1986, so Quantum Leap came out, I looked it up, in 1989, so I'm wondering if the creators of the Quantum Leap show got their ideas from this. But here we're seeing a group of prisoners who are actually younger kids. They're referred to as being younger kids, but they don't all look like younger kids here. But there is a child in the mix, and they're getting ready to get shot at in a firing squad. And this sort of captain comes out, not captain, some sort of general. He's some sort of general, and comes out and orders them to be shot in the knees, and then to wait 5 minutes, and then to be shot in the head, so they can all suffer a little bit. So as he's saying ready, aim, fire, the individual, the Infinity Man, his real name is Jacob Raymond, or the Infinite Man, I'm sorry, decides to make a jump. Doesn't really get to decide because the jumps are random. So again, the jumps and the leaps, yeah, I'm really thinking that this was an idea that was nixed. And so he leaps into the general's mind body, not mind, but body, as the firing squad takes their first shot at the knees, and he's immediately like, oh my god, what's happening? And so he's he falls back. He sees all these people and even children that have been shot, and they're all wailing on the ground, and he falls back. And of course the captain is all like, Your Excellency, what's are you okay? And he's like, this is per your orders. And he's like, well, if it's per my orders, stop it, go get them medical attention. And they're like, what are you doing? They were rebels against the whatever their governing body is at this time. So very interesting. And so he starts walking off to try to figure out who he is, where he is. And basically we find out it's kind of like a Victorian sort of empirical setup, and it takes place in the 80s, and there is some like futuristic technology like this globe, which apparently starts telling him the past. And so apparently he's part of an empire that now exists in Canada, but it is the British Empire, and it's due to this like Russian-British Great War of 1881. And apparently they had airships and things even at that time. So it's kind of an alternate Earth where technology was a little bit more advanced from the beginning, but everything still has this sort of Victorian appeal. And Britain and Russia were at war, and eventually Russia pushed Britain out through germ warfare, and Britain co-opted Canada and took over Canada. So he's finding out he is this general, and that these children, these people that were shot, were part of a resistance group that are trying to free themselves of the British rule. They're like native Canadians or whatever. So he gets a call in from a general, like a higher up general, the governor general, who's basically saying, you have a presentation you need to make and it's a plan that's going to save the empire, quote unquote. And it's called Project Damocles. or the Damocles program? And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll be ready, whatever. It's like the whole kind of thing that Sam would go through in the Quantum Leap, trying to act like that he is the person, but trying to figure out, what he can do to not be a horrible person. And so basically what this Damocles program is, it's about, it's a series of like satellites and missiles and whatnot that are supposedly going to purge the what is it, the selectively thin the weaker races. So an almost Nazi-esque sort of program that is meant to get rid of all of the lesser races that are not British. And so he's of course freaking out. Oh my God, this is horrible. I can't be a part of this. And to be continued. So pretty fun. I mean, there's not a lot of room for the art to really flourish because it's, trying to catch up on the story. It's only got, what, 6-7 pages to tell all of this backdrop. I mean, this is an epic, really. But still high quality work. I enjoyed it. It was fun. I like it. Like seeing the David Day inks. Nice. Next, Evil Cause. An Evil Cause. This is a story by Dave McCarthy with art by Dave Sim. So this is one of the few stories that Dave Sim ever really got an assignment from someone in order to do the art for. And he actually makes a like a little dig here of Dave Sim quotes. That he asked McCarthy for a script and wanted to try something new as a result of like his mentorship with Gene Day was like, you got to push yourself, do things with different people and in different projects that helps push yourself and help you develop. So he decides to work with Dave McCarthy, who's never really done comics before, and I think he just is a publisher even now. From my research, and he says, what does this story consist of? Wildlife and cars. If there's anything that a semi-professional, talented, up-and-coming, seldom been published artist has more trouble drawing than women, it's wildlife and cars. I don't think I ever asked anyone to write a script for me to draw again. So that's Dave Sim for you. So this is back when Dave Sim was still kind of, was up and coming. So anyway, we get a couple coming out of church, and the couple's not doing well, and they're taking the advice of the reverend, so which is going up to his cabin in the up north, upstate in the country, to kind of work on their marriage. And even though they're both not satisfied with each other, they're like, well, what the heck, why not? So some very, very heavy inks here with Dave Sim. I mean, he's working with a pretty heavy brush, it looks like. Some interesting marks here. Interesting lettering. So anyways, they're getting ready to travel, and they talk about perhaps we'll be able to find God, and then thus, maybe our marriage will begin to work. And so, but then they're just bickering at each other, and you're not much for conversation, are you? Blah, 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 blah. I have no idea what this is. I cannot make this out at all. Maybe you all can figure it out in the camera and on the screen. I don't know. I can't tell if their car's going forward or backward here. And if they're running, is this wreckage? And are they just driving by wreckage? I'm not sure. A car wreck? Anyway, we get to some wildlife. There's a reindeer. And it's of note that the last name of these people are called the Halls. Mr. and Mrs. Hall. So anyway, tranquility in nature, which should inspire the wonderment and all. We get like an almost little Christmas-like looking scene here. And then this reindeer jumps in front of them. They skid to the side. They almost wreck. They almost lose control. But they drive on. They get control. And of course, she's screaming at her husband, and he's like, "Get off my back!" And then before we know it, the reindeer is back again, and they swerve again. And as of note, there's a sleigh here. They swerve off and they wreck. Looks like they're completely dead. And then we get some kind of demon Santa Claus that has like the preacher outfit on. And he says, "I wear many costumes. And many roles do I play. I am God, I am Satan, we are one, as it must be. Come, Rudolph, you have done well." And that's the end. So, I don't know. I mean, Dave Sim is, I admire you, man. You're an interesting fella. This is Dave McCarthy's story, but I don't really get it fully, but all right. And then we get kind of a sci-fi epic. This is very much in Gene Day fashion. This is a Gene Day story that was meant to kind of be like G.I. Joe number 21. No panel narrative, no dialogue balloons. It was just supposed to be all sequential art with no words. But and it was just penciled. But after Gene died, they found the story. The group like Denis and Gail and everyone and Joe Urslavas, and just thought, that it's not working. That it needs some words. It's not making the cut. So they got Dave Sim to do the script. Joe Urslavas did the inks. And what we get here is a soldier walking through the woods, and then this alien as well, which they're both in separate areas, and it looks like they're tracking each other. And we get this narrative saying, they breathe air just like we do. When I think of it, I feel like throwing up. And talks about how everything's almost gone now. And we see the soldier walking through, but, all that's left is the military. And I'm the military, and all we can do is chip away at them one by one. And so we get this interplay between the alien and the soldier fighting with each other. Grenade thrown and blows up his arm, and then he disappears so this alien can teleport. And they talk about, we have a few people left, a few women left. We protect the children come first. We all agree on that. They keep their fighting going, talking about how ugly the aliens are. We don't even record our histories anymore because we have to completely start over. The alien gets chopped up. No one will ever tell their children of this time, and then we will survive. I have no doubt of that. And the alien shoots the guy in the head, but the narrative continues, and the sooner they're all dead and forgotten, the better. And the soldier's tag says Allied Invasion Force. So really the alien was actually the one doing the narrative the whole time, and a typical Gene Day twist. And the soldier was the invading alien. So, fun little ditty. Like it. And last one, Harry by Ron Sutton. Ron Sutton's gone on to do many other projects in the future for different comic book companies, as well as doing like stuff for General Mills and Kellogg's and all kinds of illustrative work. But art and story completely by him, and it's called Harry. And really what we just get is an individual floating in time and space. I really love the flow of this. It's really beautiful. There's just something about the way this figure is made, and just that there's like a lack of line in the image that I really like. But he talks about how he's floating in between time and space, and some kind of dimensional crux. It doesn't make any sense at all. So it's very confusing narrative, but it's meant to be. So abstraction was the word of the day. Though time in reality would continue to exist, it presented itself in a format no longer conceivable to modern man. Blah, 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 blah. So he was part of a ship called the Osiris, which was the first ship to be able to cross the dimension of time. And then apparently it had been blasted. Some other random ship came in and blasted it. And so Harry got blasted across time and space. Harry was obviously one of the individuals in it. Pretty cool layout here. So yeah, it was just some random vessel that came up and blasted it, and now he's floating in this void in time and space. A lot of this is kind of broken up. It doesn't really, it seems to refer to something significant to this other pod or whatever that came up that blasted the Osiris, but doesn't really go anywhere with it. But essentially what you find out is when that pod blasted the Osiris, he got thrown into this like time-space loop because it was a spaceship that was built upon crossing time. And then he finds himself floating by himself and away from himself from the initial endpoint of the blast. So he's caught in this loop where he's constantly passing himself, being thrown out into time and space from the blast, just over and over and over again. Kind of fun, great concepts. Just not sure, 100% sure about the execution. But cool nonetheless. Some cool visuals. I still did enjoy it. And then we get this Starbikers 1% 666 at the very bottom. I don't know what that. I mean, is this continued in or a part of another comic or another line of? I have no idea what this logo means and why it's there. But I'm curious. Then a letters column. Of note, there's just a couple things. There is a letter from Doug Minch. Is it Minch or Monique? Who did Master of Kung Fu with Gene Day. Just basically saying how great this book is. And apparently there was some controversy surrounding Black Zeppelin #1, the first story being the strip. So if you go back on my video, Black Zeppelin #1, and watch, the strip is a kind of a lighthearted satire, and it's very different than all of Gene Day's work. And I guess there was quite a few fans that were like, what the hell? But this guy is saying it was actually a perfectly fitting story, considering if you knew Gene and what that story meant to him. So weird that there's controversy over what story is included. If it's a Gene Day piece, it's a Gene Day piece, right? Why do comic fans got it? Even back in the 80s, comic fans were just ridiculous. Nothing much else other than just a lot of praise for Black Zeppelin, and rightly so. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes. So this was a Renegade Press piece that came out with Dan Day doing the artwork in it. So I've got issue #1. I'm going to try to cover it sometime soon. The weird thing about it, it's not actually a comic. It's all text, but there's illustrations in it by Dan Day. So it's kind of, illustrated by Dan Day, so it kind of alludes to that, but it's in comic format. So I hope to cover it soon. It's interesting. When I found this in a flea market bin, I picked up like 5 or 6 other books that looked interesting when I found this. And then every single one of those comics in that pile ended up being comics that were really just all text with some illustrations, but not actual sequential art, which was interesting that I picked all those up at the same time and didn't even know. I didn't even look inside them. I just picked them up because they looked cool. All right, and then preview of the cover for next month. I have that on its way to my house. Black Zeppelin #5. We'll get the continuation of Who Shall Cry for Damocles. We get Between Two Worlds with Gordon Derry and David Day. Looking forward to that, and another Gene Day Dave Sim piece. Yeah, and then look at that, Love and Rockets ad, like legit Love and Rock already. Look at all of these accolades from Alan Moore, Steve Rude, Howard Chaykin, Moebius, Wendy Penny. Yeah, so maybe someday I'll cover Love and Rockets if I can get to it. So it's a lot of hefty volumes out there of Love and Rockets. So here we go. Black Zeppelin #4, another masterpiece from Renegade Press. Really love this book. You can't get much better than this anthology if you ask me. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Keep safe out there. Keep it psycho.